Should I, as a man, be speaking about abortion? Well, I think this is often given as a way of shutting down opinions that people don't like, and sometimes this is surprising because when you look at the statistics, women are actually more pro-life than men. And so if I weren't speaking and if no other men were speaking, you'd actually be taking out more pro-choicers than you'd be taking out pro-lifers. But actually I think that's the wrong approach, and I want to explain why. I fully understand that sometimes this is raised as a sincere issue, and I think that is absolutely fair enough in certain circumstances. There is a sense in which I, as a man, will never understand what a pregnancy is like, and particularly what a crisis pregnancy in a particularly difficult situation is like. And I do understand that that means that when I speak about this subject, I have to speak about it with humility and with understanding and listening to the stories of people who have been through these sorts of situations. So I think it's absolutely important that when men talk about this subject, they do so in a way that is humble and that is sincere and that listens to the stories of people who are the most directly affected. But I don't think that that means that men should be silent. And there are three particular reasons why. The first is that this is an issue of justice. And when it comes to issues of justice, everyone has a stake and everyone should be involved. When something is an issue of human rights and human equality and standing up for the vulnerable, everyone should have a stake in that and everyone should be a part of that. When we think about other important issues or hot button issues in our society, when we're talking about the oppression of a particular group of people, we don't just leave the debate and leave the advocacy to people who are directly affected. We explicitly say those of you who are not directly affected need to be involved and to advocate for the most vulnerable. This is perhaps what was behind the He for She campaign that Emma Watson put together. This was a feminist campaign for the rights of women, and it was specifically saying he for she. That is, men need to be active and vocal in the fight for women's equality, because men have a particular platform and a particular power and a particular ability to advocate in these circles for women who are the victims of abuse or the victims of discrimination or the victims of any other harm. And this leads us to the second reason that men need to be involved in this conversation. And that is that women explicitly ask men to be their voice in this arena, especially when there are some women who don't feel like they have a voice or a platform. For my own part, I know that I have been approached as a medical doctor and as an advocate and as someone who is confident speaking in public by many women who say that they don't have a voice, or they are too frightened by the abuse that they might get, or they don't want to share what is in many cases their private, intimate story of having an abortion or of being involved in an abortion. And they ask me to be their voice. And so what we are saying, if we are telling every man to get out of this conversation, is that those women should not have the voice that they have chosen to represent them. And so simply excluding every man from the debate actually excludes the voices of some of the most vulnerable women who don't feel like they have a voice and who ask, in some cases, men to be the voice for them that they don't feel that they have. And the third reason that men need to be involved in these conversations is because portraying this as a women's only issue, while in some cases might feel empowering to some women, in many cases profoundly disempowers other women. What I mean by that is this. If you say that abortion is a woman's only choice, if a woman gets pregnant from a man, because it takes two, and she doesn't want the baby, or she does want the baby, but is finding it difficult to keep the baby without support, she is the one who has to deal with those burdens and that distress and those difficulties by herself. If abortion and pregnancy are women's only issues, then when a woman has a crisis pregnancy, she is on her own. And the man can simply say, this is a woman's issue. If you keep the baby, it's your choice, but I'm not having anything to do with it. That is profoundly disempowering for women in these circumstances, regardless of what she wants to do. If she wants to end the pregnancy, then she has to go through that by herself. If she wants to keep the baby, then she has to go through that by herself, and often is pressured to have an abortion because the man is not there supporting her. So for a woman, there is never an easy way out. Even having an abortion will be distressing and traumatic and difficult, and there is no easy solution to this pregnancy. Whereas for a man, if it is a woman's only issue, there is an easy way out for him. He simply says, "This is a woman's only issue and I'm having nothing to do with it. If you have the baby, that's your choice and I don't have any responsibility for that." And we know that this has caused profound distress to many women. It has caused profound misery to many women. It has actually been shown in the economic literature to contribute to the feminization of poverty. More and more women becoming placed into poverty because they have been abandoned by a man who has said, "Your body, your choice." And so what we see is that although this phrasing and although the removal of men from this debate might feel empowering for certain advocates at the high levels in the media and in medicine and in the top echelons of society, we see that in other parts of society, removing men from the debate is profoundly disempowering for women. While it might remove their voices from the public square, it also removes their practical support and responsibility from the private space. And that is often what so many women most need and most feel that they need from a man in those situations. And so abortion is not only a women's issue. Abortion is a societal failing to protect women and to give women the support that they need. And removing men from that public debate also removes them from that private support and is profoundly disempowering to women in those situations.